All right, guys, welcome back to the shack. Today we're going to be going over a topic that seems to be coming up a lot in a lot of the groups as well as emails that I've been receiving from a lot of you guys. And that is, how do I set up the Z-axis on my Atomstack? Now, I'm using the Atomstack A70, which is a beast, by the way. This thing basically will just shred any kind of material you put under it, and it's really good for cutting. But the A70, the way they've got it set up, the Z-axis is similar, if not the same, on a lot of the other Atomstack machines, including the Atomstack Z-axis that you can purchase separately if you have some of the other machines. And I'll put a little picture of that guy up here so you can compare it and you'll know what it looks like. But you can actually upgrade the A24 and a lot of the other machines to use this same Z-axis. Well, apparently there's a little hiccup with some of the assemblies and people don't understand the process. So today we're going to run through that real quick. I'm going to show you the physical assembly on the machine, how to go ahead and set it up and get it on there and get it started working, as well as a LightBurn configuration that I use to run mine with no issues. So if you're having problems with that, then this is probably a video you're not going to want to miss. So stick around and we'll be right back. All right, guys, so I'm going to be switching between the camera view of this little camera here over by the machine where I'm doing the work at and the big camera, just to kind of give you guys an idea of the process to make sure you don't miss anything. All right, so the way that this connects, and you'll see this got this little dovetail that runs down the back of the module that interfaces with this little clamp right here on the Z-axis. You will have to have all the cabling and stuff disconnected from the machine to be able to put this on. You can come up through the bottom if you have it in a position where you can. Easiest, simplest way, come in through the top right here. Just line up that dovetail and set it in there. Now, on mine, you'll notice that I have on this machine this little scale here on the back. The thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have the physical location of this module coincide with the numbers that are on here. The way that I do it is I have this little piece of metal that I have on top of my honeycomb. My honeycomb is even with the table, so to speak, even with the base of my enclosure. So to do this, I recommend you do it on a flat surface, whereas the feet of the machine and the module are touching the exact same surface. That way it'll always be correct for you. So what you're going to want to do is with this module here, or with this little gauge, is if you look, when you roll this little knob here, it's moving that up and down. So what you're going to want to do is just slowly adjust this. And like right now on mine, I've got it to where the module is sitting on the workspace beneath the laser. So I'm going to put that 0, 0 right there. And I'm going to lock it down with the Allen wrench in that location. And the reason is because by all intensive purposes, that is 0 on my Z-axis, because that is the top of the workspace, the top of the bed. Now, if your honeycomb is higher than the legs of your machine, you may want to remove it to do this, because regardless of where your honeycomb is in space, you can only engrave a certain height because of the drag chains and the assembly of the machine. So there's really not a need in doing this with the honeycomb underneath it, because you're still only going to have so much Z-axis movement here. So once I've got that done, I physically have this timed up so that, and if yours doesn't have these little marks, guys, you can just kind of align it with almost the top edge. Like, see where the top screw here is? Just kind of align it with that top screw right there. Because I've noticed on the internet, some of them didn't show having this, so I don't know if they all have it or not. But we'll show you some more adjustments in a minute. And then the only thing is just to plug in these cables here. This is the wiring for the limit switch and the flame sensor and everything that's located on the bottom of the module. That little leg that sticks down right there, that is actually part of the limit switch. It's just a little finger that sticks up in there and presses the switch. So now we're going to power the machine up. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get the machine connected. Once the machine's connected, I'm going to home it, and I'll also kind of bring you along with the software aspect. This is going to be a lot of cameras involved in this to show you everything, but I don't want you guys to miss out on part of the process. So let me get my screen capture set up here, and I'm gonna go ahead and home the machine, and we'll see what happens here. As you can see, it goes up, it hits the limit switches, does the bounce off, and then it's going to go to the corners and do the same thing. So we had no errors, no faults, no problems whatsoever. I'm going to go ahead and move the machine out into the workspace over the top of this material that I have on there. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to set the focus on that piece of stainless right there, and we'll see how it works. See, it goes to the top, touches the limit switch, comes down. It only has so many millimeters of travel right there, guys, to be able to touch off. If when you hit the focus button, if this module, when it comes from top, because I'll walk you through the process one more time for those of you maybe that don't understand. It's going up, it's hitting that limit switch, it's walking off, and then it's coming down. In the software, there is a setting that tells it if you do not contact material within this travel distance, then you need to abort and throw an error. And so that's the error that a lot of people are getting, is when they set it up like this, it doesn't meet the material in that travel distance because of the way all of this is configured. So I'm going to also show you some stuff in the software that you need to watch out for. All right, guys, so over here in LightBurn, a couple of things that you're going to want to do. And like I said, there's always more ways potentially to do this, and I'm not telling you that this is the only way or the best way or whatever. This is how I'm running mine. I've had no problems with the Z-axis whatsoever. If you want to use my settings and my setup, then feel free. But if not, then use somebody else's. That's fine too. But this little area right here is what you're going to want to make sure in LightBurn that you have your Z-axis enabled right here. All right, you're going to want to set it to relative Z moves only. So those are the settings that you need to make sure you have enabled. I will link you to my Atomstack A70 Pro config file. I'll drop it down in the description. But if you have any other machine, you're not going to be able to use this profile necessarily. So you're going to need to make sure you go in. If you're adding a Z-axis to your machine by buying the aftermarket, or if you're setting up a new machine and you're not using a configuration file, then this is something you need to check and make sure that you have that set on your machine correctly. But I will be adding this to the description. Just look for the link down below, and you can download my config and import it that way for your machine. But in case you're new to lasers and don't know, the cool part about having a powered Z-axis that can move during the cut is that if you set up this engrave right here, which typically you're going to be using this as a cut, and we'll change that just for the sake of the video. Typically, if you're cutting thick material, what you can do is you can go in here. If let's say your material is 6 millimeters thick, you can set your Z offset to 3 millimeters. And what'll end up happening is when the machine gets ready to cut, it's gonna move to the location. It's gonna lower itself 3 millimeters before it starts that cut. And that is handy cutting thicker materials because the focus, thicker materials, the deeper you get into material, the further out of focus you get. But by using a Z offset and setting your focus down a little bit, what ends up happening is that when you go through the material, the focus is in the middle of the material. Another thing, and I'm not sure if this is how new this is, but I do know this is relatively new to LightBurn, is for those guys that like to play around with galvos, or if you're trying to cut some absurdly thick material, you can actually set the Z step per pass right here, and you can say walk it down 1 millimeter per pass. But then of course you're going to have to go up here and add it, extra passes to this cut to make that effective. So if it was, if you want to come down 5 millimeters over a period of 5 passes, you could set that. So those are some tricks to use in Z-axes, and I think that's why it's a big, like for diodes especially, adding Z-axis powered Z's like this that are addressable during the cut is awesome for the diode world. A lot of machines don't have that. Some of your CO2s don't have it. So I think it's a big deal, and it does make a big difference. All right, guys, so I know it seems kind of simple, but if you're not really, if you don't think about how this stuff works, a lot of times you'll have it to where the Z-axis is trying to go too far one way or the other to hit those known points or those limit switches, and it can cause a problem. As well as you can have it physically perfect, and if you don't set the software accordingly, it's going to fail. It's going to have problems because the two need to coordinate together and work together as a whole, of course. So far, guys, I've had the A70 for quite a while now. It's worked great. I love it. I do have an A24. I use it only occasionally in my portable setup, so I'm not really looking into adding the Z-axis to it, but I do think it's a cool option that Atomstack has that available, and it's only $100 for the upgrade. And I'm sure there's some work involved and some compatibility checks that need to be done, but the Z-axis, especially if it's a cutting machine, and even if you're engraving, because if you're trying to do shading a lot of times with different colors on materials, you can take one layer and set it for speed and power of this at this focus, and then take another layer, speed and power of that at this focus. And by changing the focus and speed and power, you can get a whole different look. And so it's kind of like adding different shades of gray or different shades of brown to your capabilities. So I hope this helps, guys. I keep getting lots of people who are saying they're having problems with the Z-axis, and the error that they're getting is the travel limit too far or travel limit exceeded. And that is going to be a problem if you don't have it set up properly. So hopefully this video helps, guys. And if you hadn't already, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more tips, tricks, and troubleshooting. So till next time, be safe and have a good day.